Well, here we are. I'm Tom Osman, and this is Whatever Comes Next. It's a podcast where I explore the world of underground and independent music making. And on today's episode, I am joined by three-quarters of Joplin, Missouri's Gravehuffer, a band that is pretty difficult to put into any one single category. They are metal, but beyond that, yeah, you're going to struggle within the course of an album in defining exactly what type of metal that is. What I came up with and what I shared with the band and what I think they were fairly positive about was what did I write down? Psychedelic heavy metal monster music. That's what I have decided Gravehuffer is. So if you're not familiar with the band, give them a listen and let me know if you agree. So I was joined by bassist Mike Jilge and Ritchie Randall, who's the guitarist and backing vocalist, and their newest member, extremely new member, Wes McNeely, who is the drummer for the band now. Travis McKenzie, the vocalist, is the only member that I did not get to chat with. So yeah, we managed to cover quite a lot of the band from various different perspectives. And the most recent release that the band has put out is actually a live album, Mile High Live, which came out in February 2024. And the most recent studio album the band put out was just from last year, which was the excellent Depart from So Much Evil. And I was umming and ahhing about whether I was going to include a song from the live album or from the last studio album. In the end, I went for the studio album, and I was trying to figure out which song I wanted to play. And ultimately, I came to a slightly crazy decision, which is that the track that I love the most from the album is the 22-minute title track. So at the end of this interview, if you wish, whether you're watching or whether you're listening, you can enjoy the full 22 minutes of Depart from So Much Evil in all its various sequences, which, as I say, I think is very, very cool. But you should also check out the album in full. You should check out the band's other releases. You can do so by going to Bandcamp, or you can go to the Gravehuffer Big Cartel website if you're interested in buying some merch or some of the beautiful colored vinyl that they've got of their records. They're on some other social media sites as well, but to be honest with you, if you just type in Gravehuffer into a search engine, you're not going to get too many hits that are not directly related to the band. In fact, I would say you're not going to get any hits that are not related to the band. So yeah, I sorted this interview out through talking with Ritchie originally, and I wanted to talk to him and I wanted to talk to the band because to me, again, as is usually the case, apart from the fact that I like the music, to me, Gravehuffer are one of these kind of fearlessly creative bands that really don't in any way attempt to fit into any sort of scene or any kind of category. They do what they do, they make what they make. They're really creative, they're really kind of unique, I guess. There isn't really anyone else that sounds like Gravehuffer. And I think that kind of adventurous spirit should be applauded. It should be highlighted. And also the guys have been going together for about 15 years. I mean, independently, they've been, or even, in other projects together, they've been making music since the 90s. So they also have a wealth of experience when it comes to DIY music making. And that's what this podcast is all about. So I drew out as much insight and knowledge as I could from the guys. And I don't think you need to really have any more waffling on from me other than to say, wherever you are watching or listening, please like, please subscribe, please post comments if that's something that the platform that you're absorbing this on allows. Just engage in whatever way you wish and you can and you feel so like doing. And you can follow me on all social media at Tom Osman Sounds. You can check out what I'm doing musically at tomosmansounds.com. Oh, yes, but there is one more thing I should say as well. Gravehuffer is very much a touring band, and you can catch them on the road. In fact, the next show they've got lined up is at the end of May, and they've already got shows booked all the way up into September. So rather than me trying to butcher the names of these various different locations in the US, I recommend that you check out on Bandcamp, where you can see a list of the various shows they've got lined up there. And I think also if you go onto Instagram, you can see various updates of what the band's got going on there too. So now I think there is nothing left for me to say, but take it away, Gravehuffer.
Okay. We
Anybody put it on the table and we can stand over here. You want to do it?
we can have however you want to do it. We're doing it guerrilla style.
No worries. That's cool. Ritchie and
We got
Wes.
Mike. We got three of us here.
and over to the right, that will be Mike, I guess.
Mike, yep, our bassist.
Hey, Mike, Tom, nice to meet you all.
Hey, nice to meet you.
So whereabouts
Sorry
are you
about
guys
that.
right now?
We are in
At my house
Yeah.
on the outskirts of Neosho, Missouri.
Aha. Okay. So like, are you guys all like, this is as a European, my complete ignorance for American geography. Are you all from Missouri?
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so give me a bit of an idea. What's it like where you are in terms of like place to live and in terms of music?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's really good. But it's a small town or a smaller town, but there's a lot of good. It's like real long history of music here. So there's a lot of good musicians here. Like back in the day, there's a lot of good blues players come from here. The what was that dude? Like Steve Gaines from Leonard Skinner. He came from the next town away.
Yeah, about 20 minutes.
You know, so like a lot of people like there's a lot of good musicians in this area here in Arkansas. Like this whole four-state area, we're kind of like down in the corner of Missouri, so it's like Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a little mix of all those different scenes, you know.
And yeah, and all those scenes, like you say, in the mix, they are mixed. You know, I mean, all the bands are sharing shows.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Right.
Those scenes they're hopping scenes.
Yeah. So
For
you
sure.
feel like you've got like a community that you're a part of.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thanks guys for joining me. I don't know if I
Thanks for
really
having
like
me.
explained to Ritchie what the podcast is about, but basically the idea of the podcast is that I'm trying to explore the world of underground and independent music making. So as well as like talking about Gravehuffer, talking about the history of the band and about your music, I also want to get an understanding of what it's actually like as musicians, as like DIY musicians, the kind of things that you have to do, some of like the obstacles that you have, all this kind of stuff. I mean, I guess maybe to start with, because I think I know at least that Ritchie and Mike, you two have been in a bunch of different bands together, right? So maybe you can tell me a bit about how you all started making music together.
Well, Mike and I have been in and out of bands together since probably 1996, 97.
Yeah, 96, 97, something like that.
And we were in a band called Initial Detonation. And it was like this crusty punk kind of vibe. And we put out a couple of EPs and did a couple of tours of the States and for a couple, 2 months and 6 months, things like that. And so Mike also had some other side projects, and he continued doing those while I had a family, basically. And then 2008 rolls around, and we got the itch to start making loud, angry music again. And so they gave me a call, and we've kind of been doing it ever since. Going on 16 years now. And we've had a few different drummers now. Wes is our brand new drummer.
Yeah.
He's brand new. And
it's like Spinal Tap.
Yeah, right.
The other ones keep exploding.
They keep like little
globules.
green globules. You can't dust for vomit. But so Wes is he just lives just south of Joplan, about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
The past couple of years, we've been using fill-in drummers. One guy was from Colorado, which is about 10 or 11 hours, across Kansas and into Missouri. And so he was driving all that way just to come play shows with us. But he was a guy that used to live around here. So we kind of knew him from way back in the day. But ever since he moved, he started doing bands in Colorado. And, he's in 5 or 6 other bands. And his name's Todd Morrison. And it was nice of him to, help us out and everything. And then we had a guy that he wasn't really a drummer, but he was from here.
I know he was a jazz drummer.
Yeah. He was more of a.
He's like, you guys have to teach me how to play metal.
Right.
Like, okay.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot.
He picked it up pretty quick.
He did, yeah. His name's Luke Randolph, but he sings and plays guitar and does writing for another band. So we're like, yeah, we know we probably can't get you to commit to Gravehuffer, And then here's Wes, 20 minutes away for how long now?
About 8 years.
We had no idea. We're like, well, damn, we could have had this all along. And But so far, man, it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Wes is probably the best drummer we've ever had. I mean, I'm just going to say
Appreciate
it.
that.
So yeah, that's a little synopsis of how we got started and kind of where we're at.
And so for Wes, what were your projects before Gravehuffer?
Now, I've been in dozens of death metal, punk, thrash bands since I was 15 years old, across multiple states. And like you said, it was just kind of by happenstance that I joined the band. I have another band, and we played a show with Gravehuffer. And in talking in between sets, they were like, we're looking for a full-time drummer. And I was like, well, man, I'm 20 minutes down the road. So we talked, we met, and as it goes, the rest is history. I'm 4 shows deep with them now.
Yeah.
So, riding the train now.
Right. And I mean, the band that he's with, it's called Power Tool Ninja.
Yeah.
And a good friend of ours, Smitty, he's in the band as well, and he plays bass. And we were really, we didn't want to disrupt their band in any way. So
That's the first thing I said.
Yeah.
I said, you're an Eric's band. He's like, yeah. I said, dude, you better make sure it's okay with them first. Man.
Right, because we were like, I don't know, man. We don't want to mess with that. But everybody's been really cool about it.
It's been mutual across the board for sure.
Yeah, it kind of goes
step on toes.
right. And again, it goes to that mutual respect all the scenes have, because they're an Arkansas-based band, and so it's really cool that people from other states can, get along and respect each other and share musicians and all that good
collaborate,
stuff. Yeah, collaborate too, for sure. Yeah.
It seems like around here, like the bands kind of help each other more than they talk shit on each other. It's like there's not that much band drama.
There's no competition.
Yeah, it's
it's
not
not
competition. It's more like, hey, we're here to have fun.
Yeah,
let's have fun.
Right.
And thinking about the show side of things, like in a typical year, how much of the time would you be spending touring or on the road or doing shows?
Well, this year we're up to around 30, 35 scheduled shows so far, and we keep adding more here and there. So we usually play between 30 and 40 a year, but we do it a little different. We usually do 2 to 3, sometimes 4 shows. Mike calls them ninja runs, and we'll just go out on these 3 or 4 night schleps, and just like a weekend. We'll make a weekend out of it, but we'll get pretty far out there. Like one run, we're going all the way to Florida, this
is our 3rd year in a row. I think.
Yeah, doing that. Yeah,
the plan.
Smug in Tampa.
Yeah,
and that's like 18, 20 hour drive. But we've got shows before and after, and we just try to make it not worth the time, but just to make it effective, I guess.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. But yeah, that's pretty much how we do it.
One thing that I was kind of curious, because I was asking someone from another band about this recently, when it comes to booking shows. So I imagine, like, after all this time, you've got a lot of different contacts, different venues, but from a practical point of view, how does that work? If you want to go to a town, let's say you want to go somewhere you've never been before, how do you figure out where you want to play? How do you find contacts? How do you get in touch? Like, what are the practicalities of booking shows, and who's doing that in the band?
Yeah, it's Ritchie. That's pretty much me. Yeah. But I mean, we all have input on it. I mean, usually what I like to do is like, we have a band chat, like probably most bands have, and we'll discuss kind of like what areas do we want to try to hit up, where do we want to try to play this year, and so we'll start kind of mapping out a general idea of routing and all that, and getting with everybody's work schedules and all that, and making sure everybody can play at those particular dates. And then a lot of the times when we book, we're usually just friendly with other bands in those areas that we want to hit up. And other times I'll just peruse Facebook or whatever and look for venues in those towns and just hit them up by email. And we've got an electronic press kit that I'll send them that's got all of our information and links and all that stuff. And I would say we only get replies back about a third of the time. I mean, it's pretty it's tough sledding out there sometimes.
It's a grind.
It really is. And so yeah, you just got to be very persistent, and you got to word things a certain way to get their attention. And it's a challenge. And some days I'm like, oh, it's just a pain in the ass, man. It drives me crazy. But most of the time I'm like, I kind of like the challenge and, the hustle or whatever you want to call it. Because it's always cool to get that venue. And then every once in a while, the venues will want to book everything. But most of the time, they'll ask the bands to, like, hey, find some locals or whatever. And I love doing that because that's when you start meeting the bands in the scene and getting more contacts. And then you can start, talking to them about where they play other shows and things like that. And it just kind of snowballs and builds on that. So that's pretty much how we've been doing it, just kind of grinding away at it, just online basically.
And what about before I guess, okay, so like if Gravehuffer goes back to 2008, was that still the way you were doing things right back at the start?
It was on a much smaller scale. Like we weren't traveling real far.
Right.
Now we're like, we go to New Jersey, we go to Florida, we drive halfway across the country sometimes on the weekend.
Right. Before
but we didn't do that before.
Yeah, we didn't start really doing this until probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
We started kind of.
We got this big ugly van, so that's when we kind of started like traveling more. And we got that big van.
Right. It just made everything a lot more practical, and because before we had a pickup truck and a trailer that we were renting trailers from U-Haul and stuff, and that was just kind of a pain in the butt and not the most pleasant experience sometimes. So, but yeah, when we got the van, then we really started hitting the road and booking the more far away shows.
And so on the topic of, live show experience, you've probably got all kinds of horror stories, but did anything pop out to you? Like not necessarily a bad experience, but just some kind of like crazy road story that you've got from the time of Gravehuffer over the years?
Last night.
Last night, yeah.
Yeah. We played at what was essentially a dance club.
Glorified karaoke bar.
Glorified karaoke bar. Show up and the PA is basically non-existent. It's just a glorified boombox for karaoke, and just played to. So I've never played to a place that was packed out, but no one was there to watch the bands. The venue was divided, bar on one side and the stage and music room in the other, and everyone was at the bar. It was 150, 200 college students. No one was at all interested in the show going on that they paid for. Yeah, so that was a bizarre thing.
It was
strange with the lack of sound and everything. Last night was pouring down rain too, so it just made for an interesting night.
Yeah, the drive home took them twice as long because we were going across. Like the place we played was like there's no real good way to get there. It was all these like small
There's no big interstate, so you had to take all these country roads.
Right.
And we were even going down gravel roads for part of it.
Yeah.
It was like, I was like, oh, this is not a good sign for a freaking gravel road.
Yeah. And some of there was water rushing over the roads at several points last night coming home, and I was like, do we go across? And
Chance it.
Yeah, the van sits up pretty high and it weighs a lot. It did take quite a bit to move that thing, but we still didn't want to take our chance and hydroplane, and so we were driving like 25, 30 miles an hour about half the ride home, and it was pretty stressful, but yeah.
No, that's the most recent one.
Yeah, that's
pretty good. Something that you're all involved with as well. That's good. Just it couldn't be more recent, really.
Yeah.
So I think anyone that's listened to Gravehuffer knows that you're pretty eclectic. So I'm wondering, when you are in the van and you're traveling however long, traveling across state, and people are putting music on the stereo, is there anything that one person might put on that other people are going to go, you can't listen to that, I hate that? Like, are there any conflicts about what people want to listen to in the van?
No, not really. We all listen to so much stuff. Like we just have a memory stick that we put in stereo, and I'm like, before we start our season off, I'll say, everybody tell me what you want to hear, and I'll load it all into the stick. And there's like probably 500 albums on there. So we just put it on, and it'll last like the whole year,
Yeah, we won't hear the same song.
Sometimes it's really cool. Like one time we were going through a guest, or where was it, Macon, or where was that in Georgia, where James Brown was from, and James Brown came on. And
Oh,
like,
Augusta,
yeah,
Augusta,
cool.
GA. Yeah, that's right.
But there's like, we all listen. Like I said, we all listen to a little bit of everything, and we all love everything from noise all the way up to classical.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, I do most of the driving because I'm a wimp and I get car sick. but if I drive, it's okay. I don't know. It's really weird. So yeah, I'll be driving along, and it's really cool when something pops on that I haven't heard ever or haven't heard in a long time. And it's funny, like half the time I don't even know, like, I wonder who picked that or whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's just a smorgasbord.
It really is.
Like you said, James Brown, and then all the way over to
like Tony Allen, Sunny Ade,
Hella
to like
Napalm
Death,
yeah,
Celtic Frost.
Yeah, I mean it's just Judas Priest, Morbid Angel,
Thin Lizzy.
it
just goes all up. Genesis. Like we love old Genesis, man.
Yeah.
You even got the new Job for Cowboy record on there.
Yeah, I mean it's just everywhere. It is. It's all over the place.
Well, on that topic of the various different bands that you're into, so you recently put out your Mile High live album, and by the way, I love the between songs banter on it. So I don't want to give it away for anyone who hasn't listened. I don't want to give away the punchlines, but like jokes about veganism, jokes about necrophilia. I'm here for it all day. So I dig it, and and it's not it's the performances too. The performances are great, but why did you decide that now was the time to release a live album?
I think that was the best record. Like we've been wanting to, but we never could get one that sounded good or captured that, And those guys at that place, they really captured the sound, and they also captured how, like you said, in between the songs, Travis, he just tells all these crazy dad jokes or just weird jokes,
right?
And we always say, man, don't laugh, don't
encourage them.
Don't encourage them, But people are like, that's part of the show, like the shows that you guys don't really take yourselves that serious, But I mean, we take the music serious, but we're just there to have fun.
We're still having fun
at
the end of the day.
Still got to have fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this is just on the streaming version, but so on the Spotify version, you've got the live album, and then you've got the 3 tracks at the end. You've got the Godflesh cover that's actually in the show, and then you've got the Twisted Sister cover, and you've got this medley between Frank Zappa and Black Sabbath. And I think those 3 tracks were singles that you put out a couple of years ago, right? So that is like, that in itself is quite an eclectic mix. So what do those bands in particular mean to you, and why did they end up being the ones that you wanted to have recordings of?
Well, Godflesh, honestly, for me, is a massive influence. It's not just all around. It's funny, when Mike and I were in Initial Detonation in the 90s, I was also in a band called Satan's Ice Cream Truck. And we did stuff like Godflesh was massive because we were just 2 guys and a drum machine. We bought the same drum machine Godflesh used, or so we thought. And when we did the cover recording for this, we used that same drum machine. That's how anal retentive we were about it. And but yeah, Like Rats is something that was the first Godflesh song I ever heard. I've been wanting to cover it ever since I heard it, like in the early 90s. And so that was just kind of like selfish of me, I guess. But we're all Godflesh fans. But
yeah. And the Twisted Sister, like when I was a kid, I listened to a lot of Devo and Twisted Sister. And so I just like Twisted Sister Under the Blade has always stuck with me, and I'm like, man, that was such a heavy album, and we were talking about what song should we do. I'm like, man, let's try to do Twisted Sister. Like we started kicking it around, and when we started, usually when we think, oh, we should do this, we'll play through it and we're like, that doesn't really sound right, but that song, it sounded good. We're like, okay, we're gonna do this,
right.
But yeah, we love Twisted Sister, and they're going to go on another tour.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to see that,
dude. Yeah,
And what was the other cover? Oh, it was Frank Zappa.
Frank
Like
Zappa.
we all love Frank Zappa, but Travis, he is the Zappa nut. Like he knows all the Zappa stuff. If you get him to start talking on Zappa, you better sit down because you're going to be there for a while.
Right.
And Sabbath, who doesn't love Black Sabbath? They're like the godfathers of heavy metal.
Right. Yeah.
So, looking on your Instagram account, and I'm guessing, Ritchie, do you run that?
Yeah, I pretty much run all the socials. Yeah.
So, I saw some pictures a little while back, maybe not that long ago, where you were at NAMM. I don't know if all you guys were there, or maybe Wes, like, because you weren't in the band at the time. But can you tell me a bit about NAMM? What is it about? And was that the first time that you'd been there?
That was my second time, and kind of a weird thing to talk about now, but we used to be with a company called Arachnid Cabinets, and unfortunately, we're not with them anymore. But that's a whole other story. But they were the ones that kind of invited us to their booth, and what it is I can't even remember what NAMM stands for.
I looked it up and now I've forgotten.
National Association of Musical Merchants.
That was it.
Something like that.
Something like that.
It's like a music trade show. Yeah.
It's a trade show for gear, music gear. And which it was pretty wild because Gary Holt from Exodus Slayer, he was there. He plays the same cabinets. And then Sammy from Goat War was also there. And so it was like, I felt like a, small fish, big pond kind of thing. I was just like, oh my gosh, it was pretty awesome. And both years was really cool. But the second year was even funner, I think, because Ola England from Solar Guitars, who we're with, he was there, and I got to meet him in person, and he actually knew who we were because of the band name. He's like, hey, it's nice to finally meet you in person. Super nice guy. And he's like 9 million feet taller than I am. It was amazing. Super nice guy. I also got to meet Devin Townsend again, and he was fantastic. So yeah, NAMM is you're just basically whoring out gear, trying to sell your wares, and then just networking with other companies. And I've met with a drumstick company. Was it Scorpion?
Scorpion, I believe.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get him some stick endorsements and stuff. And I mean, it is pretty fun. And the name of the game, like I said, really is to get your name out there and kind of connect with other musicians. And it's almost like playing shows. You're networking, and it's just a little different form of networking more than anything.
And I'm curious about how this whole endorsements thing works, because I really have no idea about this. From time to time, I'll see musicians and, maybe I'll see an advertisement in a guitar magazine or something like that. It'll talk about like some signature guitar or be some stack that they're using. So like it seems that you've had a bunch of different endorsements. How does that kind of come about, and how important are they, to a band like yours?
It's an interesting question. Honestly, I just started hitting the companies up and asking them point blank, hey, we're interested in collaborating or whatever. And so
they usually have like different tiers.
Yeah.
And like you usually start out like 20% off, and then you work your way from there.
Right.
Like a few, like I guess we have had quite some endorsements that have gone and come and gone.
Yeah. There's a few out there, they range from like 15 to 20 all the way to half off on stuff. And usually the artist gear relationship is you provide them, content, and then just basically help promote more than anything. And then they in turn give you a discount on their stuff. That's pretty much how it works. You're there to use their gear, but you're also there to help them sell stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's it is basically a collaboration on getting gear in other people's hands.
And a lot of that would be too, like what you have to bring to the table for the company you're representing.
Right.
So playing 30, 40, possibly 50 shows in a year, right? That's some face time for,
Yeah, that's like all over the country, all over instead of one area.
Right.
So, yeah. just having something to offer rather than just, expecting handouts,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's kind of like traveling salesman.
It kind of is, man. You kind of are like you're glorified T-shirt salesman, gear salesman, that just play music.
Yeah, well, I was actually, funnily enough, pretty recently, I was interviewing someone, and they said pretty much the same thing about the t-shirts, about being traveling salesmen. So, like at this point, particularly now when streaming services have become such a big thing, how important are selling t-shirts and like the merch table in general when you're going and playing shows?
Man,
That's pretty much what keeps us on the road most of the time.
That's where it's at, man.
Because like if you're playing with 4 bands and you got to split the door 4 ways, you might, if you get lucky, you might get $100. Then you just, how'd the merch table do? That's the most, like, oh, we're good, So then we're like, pack up and get.
yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we
It's
can we can have
Got enough gas to make it to the next town.
Yeah.
Left for a hotel room. We're
right.
good.
Exactly. We can hit Taco Bell or whatever on the way to burritos. So yeah, that's it, man. That's pretty much the life, Just and it's important to have merch that has good artwork and eye-catching, shirts and things like that. And, like our shirts have ink that glows in the dark, and people always think that's really cool. And we have vinyl, and our vinyl's striking and looks cool, and that, and we have posters and just different things. We still have CDs, and the physical merchandise for the music, I think, is huge, because like you were talking about with streaming, there's bands we've played with that like they don't have CDs
or even
records.
stickers.
Yeah, they may have shirts.
Even if you're at a show and all you like, I just want to buy a sticker. Even that helps.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just buying a $2 or $1 sticker.
Right. Yeah. Because somebody's gonna slap that sticker up somewhere, and then they're gonna be like, "Who's that?" Yeah. It's merch. You're advertising for your.
And that's another thing about the community. Is like when we travel, we always put a sticker up somewhere, and then we'll come back the next year and we'll see that some bands we know will put their sticker right next to ours. It's like, hey, we were here too.
Right.
And so we come back and we're like, hey,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. And sometimes we'll even get pictures like sent message to us like, hey, we just played Brass Mug in Tampa, and now we're sticker buddies or whatever.
Yeah. So it's like, cool. We're always walking around looking at stickers and going, hey, those guys played here.
Yeah.
We'll put our sticker right next to theirs. It's like, hey,
right,
we're here too.
Right. Yeah.
So you brought up the vinyl, and I was going to mention that because you do have some very striking, colored vinyl and splatter vinyl and things like that. So at this point, how profitable is the physical merch, the CDs, the vinyl? Are you, aside from the shows, like I presume you've got like web stores or whatever else, but how big a part of like keeping the band going is the physical sales?
Oh, it's the thing. I mean, it really is. Like, and we do make money on vinyl in particular. I mean, we make as much on vinyl as we do shirts, and CDs about the same way. We usually do like a deal where we'll sell our entire discography for a certain price or whatever, like a bundle type deal. And
sometimes people, I'm surprised
too. I'm like,
people will take like, I want the whole bundle,
and it's like
it's like $100, but you get everything.
They'll buy like everything we have, and we've sold several of those, and like, dude, that's enough to pay for our hotel. That's enough to pay. It's just when you put it in that perspective, then you realize how important that is. And yeah, the vinyl sales is a big thing, and part of it's a little selfish, I guess, because we're like vinyl junkies. So we're like it's for our own little selfish needs, because or whatever, however you want to word that. We're into that ourselves. That goes back to the music too. We put out stuff that we want to see, or we want to
listen to.
We want to listen to. Like, we want to put a record out that we would buy. Like, yeah, I'd buy that. We don't want to like put something out like, that's okay. We want to put out something that is attractive to us, I guess. That would make us want to purchase it too.
Well, talking about the records and going way back, so basically to your first album, Blast for Music. I've got a question about that, which is actually kind of connected to later albums as well, because I noticed on that one, and you've done this on other records, you've got some interesting samples, which, whether from movies or from interviews or whatever else. And I'm kind of curious about that because I've wondered about this with other bands where I hear all these interesting little samples. Is that ever a legal issue to have that?
Not yet.
No, yeah. We've never. Oh my God. Whoa.
Hopefully those people they don't listen to our kind of music, so they get by,
Okay, I won't talk about it too loudly.
No. I honestly don't think we use enough of the sample to
It's usually
warrant
just a little
that.
snippet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like more than 30 seconds, whatever. I'm not sure what
Okay.
legal parameters are for that.
Well, like on that new one, we used the song Slayberry.
Mm.
It's about Andy Griffith. I don't know if you know that show, the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, I
He's
recognize
like
the
this
name,
cop.
but
It's about him. It's about him, and we just took the first two. It's a famous song that comes on when the show comes on, and it's a whistle, and we just took the first two notes of the whistle, so that anybody that knows the show will be like, "What was that?"
That sounds familiar. Yeah. It was a happy accident too, because we were just recording a sample of Andy saying, "When this is over, I'm going to kill you." Because the song is about Andy just freaking out,
going nuts.
He's like, because he's got to babysit the entire town because they're all stupid. They're all dummies, and so that I think I forgot to hit stop or something, and you're like, "Well, wait a minute, let's see if we can make that work." And so it's just the two first notes of that theme, and then the song kicks in, and it just worked perfect. It was.
I've had a few people go, "What is that?"
Yeah,
Like, you'll figure it out.
right. There has been a couple people that knew that's what it was. Like, hey, that's the first couple of notes of Andy Griffith theme. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
Woo! Gave that
Dang,
tune two notes.
Like, yeah.
yeah, I like those. I do like those little inserts. Like I think they often add something to the music, and it's like, as you say, sometimes people recognize it and they go, "Whoa, hang on a minute, that's from this crazy thing." And then other times you can't figure it out. Like I often have that too, where I'm like, I need to figure out where this is from. It doesn't say on the liner notes. Just like maybe 10 years later, I'm going to hear it and go, "Hang on a minute, that was from a record somewhere. Which record was it now?"
Where was that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Connecting dots now.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So something I was thinking about, again, going back to this aspect of Gravehuffer kind of, having different elements of different genres, and you don't quite fit into anything. You're not exactly thrash. You're not exactly hardcore. You're not exactly crust. That was it. Yeah. These are like, you've got, elements of various different things. So in general, I get bothered with genres. Like when I'm writing about bands, like on the one hand, it's kind of like hard to figure out what genre I'm supposed to write about. And then I think like a lot of the time genres aren't even that descriptive. It's like, if you say, for example, that a band is post-rock, it's like if you've heard a bunch of bands that get called post-rock, you kind of go like, oh, okay, I kind of know what like the elements are. But if you say that to someone who's never heard what post-rock means, it's kind of like a meaningless term. So I have tried to come up with my description of Gravehuffer. So first of all, I want you to tell me what you think of this is like my attempt to just kind of like capture the spirit of Gravehuffer in a description. So because a lot of the time I listen to the band, I'm just like, this time I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to be able to say it's this genre. And I get about 3 songs in and I'm just like, no, it doesn't quite work. So anyway, this is my description. This is my description of Gravehuffer. Psychedelic heavy metal monster music.
Dude, yes.
Psychedelic heavy metal monster music.
I like that.
Yeah. It
Might be the
fits.
go-to now.
It does.
Maybe we should put that. We'll put that on our website, and we'll give you credit for saying
For the genre, yeah.
So on that topic of just like, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. On that topic of like, bands that, aren't necessarily easy to categorize, and just imagining like, you're listening to this band and it's just like you're having a random conversation with someone, they're asking you what you're listening to and they're asking you what it's like. And, like saying post-rock or death metal is not really going to help. I want to throw some band names at you, and I'd like to know what comes to mind. It's like if you were just randomly talking to someone, how would you describe these bands in like any way that you want to whatsoever? Just like what comes to mind. All right.
Okay.
First one, Motorhead.
We are Motorhead and we play rock and roll.
I would say high octane rock and roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
Straight up rock and roll, man.
All right, I dig it. All right, Celtic Frost.
Shit.
So for me, I'm the younger guy, right? This can be like a broad spectrum thing, but that's going to be old school, right? Those are like initial tenets for everything that came thereafter.
Like
You know
those
what
are the guys with the machete in the jungle. You know what I
There you go.
mean?
Map it
Those are
out.
the guys that were like cutting the path.
Yeah.
You know, but
Celtic Frost.
they're one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we cover Celtic.
they're right up there with Black Sabbath for me. You know,
Yeah.
I think Tom G. Warrior is our Tony Iommi.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, he's amazing, and so eclectic as well. Like all the different phases of the band, it's absolutely wild. Like how much they changed from album to album.
Yeah. And whether you like it or not, you can't take that away from them. That they did that, and maybe sometimes it worked, maybe sometimes it didn't work. But it is what it is. And like I listened to Into the Pandemonium, like I was not sure if I liked that when I first heard it. I was like, I don't know if I like this, but
it was just different.
Yeah,
you know,
I appreciate it more now. Definitely. I don't know. I just kind of think of them as like avant-garde metal, I guess.
Yeah.
I always just consider them like death metal, you know.
Yeah.
But I just thought they're
the original.
But yeah, that's what I would say, like old school death metal.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny with them because I think I saw some interview with Tom G. Warrior where he was saying we're black metal. And it's like, well, if you say you're black metal, fair enough. But I guess it's probably not what a lot of people think of when they think of black metal. Not a lot of their music anyway.
Yeah. Right, yeah, for sure.
But he has that element in a lot of the stuff, you know, talking about Asmodeus is near.
Right. Yeah, I mean, literally black metal, like metal that is very dark.
Yeah.
You know,
right. He is a dark dude.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, he is a very dark dude.
I mean, he's hanging out with H.R. Giger, you know.
Yeah.
One of the darkest artists there was, you know.
Right.
His imagination was amazing.
Well, yeah, he's like Tom is he's like the caretaker of Giger's like art and stuff now. Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild connection. All right, I've got a couple more for you.
Yeah.
Faith No More.
Ooh. What can you say about Mike Patton? I mean,
to me, they kind of had like it was like this Sabbath kind of rhythm section with like these kind of 80s gothic keyboards with this just wacky vocalist, you know, like a really cool mix. And to me, the keyboards is what kind of sets them apart.
Yeah.
You know, it makes them the most unique. That's the most unique thing about them to me is what Roddy Bottom does.
I think all around though, like to harken back to what you were talking about with the Celtic Frost, avant-garde, man. Like it's nothing else like it.
Right. Yep. They're kind of like their own genre.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yep. I take that. All right. I've got one more for you on a slightly different tack.
Okay.
Anal Cunt.
Whoa.
We were just talking about them the other day.
Wow.
We were talking about, what was that we were saying we were going to do?
Atmospheric anal cunt covers.
Like, yeah, we were talking about doing it. And what was the,
with a lounge singer.
Yeah, like doing lounge versions of anal cunt.
Yeah, but the music was like real like atmospheric, like kind of like Enya or something. But it was kind of singing like this, you know, like we do stuff like that all the time. Like one time we were loading gear and we were like doing like William Shatner singing Gigi Allen. And
I dig it. There's a place for that.
We got wild stuff bouncing around.
What was the one we were doing last night? Slim Whitman or Slim Pickens doing Slim Whitman.
All right.
Remember we were talking about that?
I dig it too.
I guess it was a lot funnier last night.
I don't know if I remember that. I guess.
Yeah, I think you were driving.
Yeah.
But Travis, he does that a lot. Like he'll do Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What, like singing in the style of Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah. He does. Travis, he's really good at impersonating people's voices, and so he does that kind of stuff all the time. we'll be in the hotel room. We never turn the TV on. I think was that you said, "Hey, can I turn the TV on?" That's the last hotel.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we for like years we haven't turned the TV on. We just sit in there and talk, you know. And Travis, our singer, he can talk. I'll put him up against anybody, man. He can just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And so, but he does all this crazy stuff. He'll just be pacing around the room and be like doing Arnold Schwarzenegger as Captain Kirk, or he just mixes all this stuff up.
Right.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, he does these crazy mashups, I guess.
Now, I've got a very philosophical question for you, and this might seem like a really obvious question, or it might not at all seem like an obvious question, but I think I'm going to start asking everybody this, and now I'm like really curious to know what people are going to say. Why do you make music?
I do it because I pretty much have to.
Excuse me.
I used to have a studio set up at my house. I pretty much recorded every day. I got married at one time and tried to quit and like time to grow up and try to be a man or whatever, but it just wasn't for me, man. Sitting at the dinner table, all I think about is music. Ever since I was a little kid, like before I was even a musician, I listened to the radio and go, "Here comes the guitar solo." And like those songs would bore me. I'm like, verse, chorus, guitar solo, chorus.
Yeah.
That was like every song in the 80s. I was just like, and so when I started playing the bass, I'm like, I'll never write a song that goes verse, chorus, guitar solo, chorus. I'm like, that's just like, I just thought it was too
formulaic.
Yeah, it's too much of a formula. But my dad was a Beach Boys fan, and he had this 7-inch of Heroes and Villains. And that's the first thing I heard that was like, what is this? Like, this music does not follow the formula, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really opened my eyes to like, it's not just music on the radio. I need to start looking for other things, you know?
Right.
So just go out there and search, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Just to piggyback on what he said, man, it's compulsion. Like, I've been playing drums my whole life, basically. And if I didn't, like, there's a hole inside without doing it. And it's not just practice, right? It's the collaboration, the musicianship side of it, sharing a whole with other musicians.
Right.
And there's nothing else like it. Whether it's live or you're recording, it doesn't matter. But just sharing that environment of a mutual thing of creation. Yeah, it's just pure compulsion.
Yeah, Mike, we did an interview the other day where he mentioned like throwing a bouncy ball against the wall. You know, it's like you can do that. It keeps coming back to you. But if you throw it to somebody else, you get a different like reaction. You know, it starts getting passed around the room, and that's kind of like I think where we really shine is collaborating and writing together versus one person calling the shots or whatever. Yeah. But as far as like why I got into music, I can kind of say the same as Mike. Like my parents, they were really into like the heavier stuff, which I'm very glad. Like my parents grew up on like, they named me after Ritchie Blackmore from Deep Purple. So I pretty much had to be a guitar player. Right. And so I grew up on a lot of that kind of stuff, and Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Judas Priest. And so, you know, listening to that stuff, my dad listened to music so loud, and like I remember hearing like Led Zeppelin Heartbreaker, like he would always turn that up, like he would crank that song. That's like what was one of his favorites. That and like Rainbow Killed the King was another one. He just cranked the volume on. And that's like heavy shit. Like I'm like 5 years old, like this is 1980, and like just you know, I'm like, whoa, what the hell? And so that was pretty much my first initial impact on music. And then like I started listening to the radio. I was like, like this stuff's wimpy, you know. Like I was introduced to the heavy stuff first, and then heard the other stuff on the radio. And so I've never really been a big listener of the radio because of that. I think because, you know, my parents taught me to, like Mike said, search for stuff. And yeah, the music bug bit me really early. And I would like air guitar and like grab my parents' tennis racket and pretend it was a guitar and like play concerts in my living room to Judas Priest's Unleashed in the East. And I was like, I'm KK Downing. And he had the Flying V. And I was like, that's the guitar I want. And I mean, it was pretty immediate with me, and it's never left, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that you guys are lifers. So
Yeah.
just on that topic of being named after a famous rock star, so it sprung to my mind. I've got a friend whose name is Paul Crow, and he married a woman whose last name is Wolf, and they had a baby, and they called the baby Thor. So the baby's name is now Thor Wolf Crow. And if that kid doesn't end up being a rock star, then something is seriously wrong, because that is like the biggest rock star name that you've got right there.
Thor Wolf Crow.
Yeah, rock star name for sure, man.
Jeez,
Yeah, that's
man.
pretty cool. Yeah.
No joke. That, I mean,
Carry some clout.
right? Yeah, that's a very strong name too.
So just one other thing I wanted to ask you about, and we briefly touched on the social media before. So I'm curious, like, we are all of an age where I think we all like had a significant part of our lives without the internet, without mobile phones, and obviously, all kind of like technology just changes so quickly and things advance, and there's all this kind of like different technology that you have to take into consideration. Broadly, like, what are your opinions about like the pros and cons of streaming music and social media?
I'm really not a fan of any of it, to be honest. I mean, there's some good points to it. I mean, but personally, I'm not the biggest fan of streaming. I'm really into the physical product kind of thing. Like I like CDs, I like vinyl, especially. To me, the artist, they put all that time into this music, but they also put the time into presenting it a certain way, the running order. Like when you listen to Spotify, it shuffles everything around. Like when we put our last album out, we had so many conversations about how the tracks were going to, what order they were going to
Which one's first?
Which
one's
first?
last?
Yeah.
It's
like
Well,
this
'cause you're
leads into
telling a
this
story.
Exactly. You're telling a
And
story.
that's the whole point. Like I love listening to a record because you get the whole story.
Right.
This whole thing that unravels in front of you. And with that, you also get the artwork, the lyrics, and all that. You don't get any of that if you're streaming, like he said. It's just a shuffle, a roll of the dice, and you get another song.
Yeah. And there's,
I mean, it's a tool.
Exactly.
Use it as a tool,
Exactly.
but don't depend on it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to work.
Yeah, I think I have kind of similar feelings. It's like with social media. I basically quit all of that stuff a while ago. And then when I started doing stuff that I wanted to promote, I sort of went, all right, I guess I have to use it. But I try and treat it as a tool. So it's kind of like, why am I using this? What is it for? Like, how much of my time is it actually worth spending on this?
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. Well, and to dovetail with the same point on social media with booking, right? You now have the advent of essentially being in touch with almost anyone instantaneously.
Right.
So that's a huge advent.
It is. I mean, it's awesome for that kind of thing. It's awesome for being social on there, literally. And I think it kind of got, some of it just gets ugly. And it's not social media's fault. It's the people on social media's fault. They want to blame Facebook, but it's not Facebook. It's some of the people on Facebook. It all comes back down to the people.
Yeah.
And
how, like, if you're an asshole or not.
Yeah. You're either you are or you're not. It's not the freaking Facebook's fault. It's you. It's the person. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like whatever the tool or the technology, it's only as good or as bad as how people use it, or like the intent that people go into it with.
100%. Yeah.
So thinking about what the band's got coming up, what are the plans for Gravehuffer in the coming weeks and months?
Now that we got Wes in the band, we're going to start writing for a new record. And we're already starting to throw ideas around, riffs, subject matter, all that stuff.
We've got one already written.
Yeah, we've got one song. It's pretty much already, music's already written. We got to kind of massage the arrangement. The subject's already picked out. Some of the lyrics are already starting to get worked on. It's going to be a prequel to another song. That's all we'll say on that. And like my phone is full of riffs. I mean, it's just full of stuff. Like I'm always playing guitar. Oh, that sounds cool, and I'll just record it spur of the moment. I just feel like that's the best way for me to write. So what we typically do is we'll pull all these riffs together, and then we'll put them in the computer and start to kind of like this fits with this fits with this.
It's kind of like a puzzle.
Yeah.
But all the pieces fit together. You just like which ones look the best together,
right?
Sound the best together.
Yeah, and not all of them are keepers, so to speak, either. Some of them are like,
like we could do better than that.
Yeah, maybe not this time, or you just never know. So yeah, I mean, we always try to document everything and keep track of everything and share everything with each other on ideas. And Mike's real good about coming up with like direction, like maybe this is the direction we need to go for this song. Maybe this is the direction we need to go for this album, or whatever. And like the artwork, we have a friend of ours that we've been friends with since, good Lord.
Yeah, the 91. Eric, his name is Eric Sweet. He does fantastic art.
Like he's done our last 4 album covers, even the live album. And his style's super, super unique to him.
Yeah.
And we just give him an idea and then he rolls with it.
Yeah, it does make sense because like to that point, looking at the previous albums, like as you say, like the last 4 albums, when you look at the covers, they all do have a very recognizable style. And I think it's very cool the way that it's kind of ambiguous. Like it's not, like big monsters necessarily. It's like there's something kind of weird and unsettling about it, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. Which in a way I think really suits the music because it is quite hard to sort of define concretely.
Yeah. Perfect.
Every person thinks of it, they see something else. They see different things in there,
Right.
And the artist, he won't tell us like anything. Like I've known him forever, and I'm like, I'm seeing this and this. He's like, cool. He will not
give it away. Man.
He doesn't give anything away.
Yeah. He thinks it's awesome that people have their interpretation. Which, dude, I'm the same way with our music. Yeah. Like, well, we've done interviews before where people be like, "Oh, this song's about police brutality.
This song's about PTSD." And we're like, "No, this song's about Bigfoot."
Or that song's about Andy Griffith Show. But that's the cool thing about what you do in art is everybody gets a different meaning behind it, and especially when we write super specific stuff and they get a totally different interpretation of it. That's way cool.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. Well, look, guys, Ritchie, Wes, Mike, it was super cool to chat to you. Thank you so much for joining me. It was great to get your insight, and I'm a big fan of the band, so it was very enjoyable for me to get to talk with you about your music too. So I wish you all the best with the coming shows. Try not to get spun off the road by any extreme weather when you're out in the van. And
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll see you guys some way down the way on the road, and I look forward to the next Gravehuffer release.
Awesome.
Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Man, this was an awesome interview.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot, guys.
thou shalt hear the desperate lamentations, shall see the ancient spirits disconsolate, who cry out each one for the second death. fast hold upon the hairy sides. From fell to fell descended then, exactly on the thickness of the haunch, the guide, with labor and with hard-drawn breath, turned round his head where he had had his legs, and grappled to the hair, as one who mounts, so that to hell I thought we were returning. Keep fast thy hold, for by such stairs as these must we perforce depart from so much evil. and doubting do not speak. Yet I shall loose that knot, and I can release you from the bonds of subtle reasoning.